it's a story that I really like. My grandmother came from Donegal, and this is a version of a story that's found in many countries in Europe. But this is the version from Donegal. Once upon a time there was a boy and he worked in the fishing. He worked every week from Monday till Friday night in Killybegs in the south of Donegal, that great country in the northwest of Ireland. And on Friday night he would travel home north into the blue hills of Donegal, home to his family. One night he worked very late on the Friday. It was late, and he wasn't sure if his journey would get him home on time. And he set off. And he walked for a few hours, and it got very dark. And he found himself up in the blue hills, but all he could see in the sky were the stars, not even the moon to guide him. And he was afraid. But in the light of just the fading light of the evening, he saw a great house. And he saw a shadowy figure in front of the house, and it was a boy, and he was working with a horse. And he said to the boy, "I'm a tired and weary traveller. I've travelled from Killybegs, and I'm going home to the north of the county. Do you think I could stay the night here?" And the boy said, "Isn't this Donegal? Aren't these the blue hills? Aren't we famous for our hospitality here? You must stay the night, but you should ask the father of the house." And the boy, the traveller, he turned to the young man and he said, "Where is your father?" "Oh, that's him up there on the roof. He's working at the roof. Soon he'll come down and we'll have dinner. But he's on the roof at the moment." And our young traveller shouted up at a man on the roof. He could just see his shadow, and he said, "Excuse me, sir." "Yes, what do you want?" "I'm a tired and weary traveller. I'm travelling from Killybegs home to my home in the north of the county. Do you think I could stay the night?" And the man on the roof said, Sure, you should stay the night. Isn't this Donegal? Isn't this the Blue Hills? Aren't we famous for our hospitality? You must stay the night. But you should ask the father of the house." And so he said, "Oh, sorry, sir. So where is your father?" And he said, "Oh, he's in the kitchen. He's making dinner. It's almost dinner time, and I will come down and we'll all eat dinner. You should go in there." And so the traveller went in the house, and he saw a man with a beard, sitting at the table, the grandfather of the boy who was working with the horse. And he went up to the man, and the man looked up, and he said, "Oh, hello." And he said, "Hello, I'm a tired and weary traveller. I'm travelling from Killybegs to my home in the north of the county. Would it be all right to stay the night and travel on in the morning?" And the man said, "Of course you must stay. Isn't this Donegal? Aren't these the Blue Hills? Aren't we famous for our hospitality? But you should really ask the father of the house." Goodness, the young man thought, that boy hasn't just got a father and a grandfather, he has a great-grandfather. He thought he must be very old, and he said to the man at the table, "Very well, where is your father?" And he said, "Why, that's him sitting over beside the fire in the corner." And he looked over, and there was a very, very old man with a long beard that grew right down to his tummy. And the young man went over and he said, "Hello?" And the old man looked up to him and said in a little voice, "Hello, young man. What do you want?" And he said, "Excuse me, sir." He was very polite. "I'm a tired and weary traveller. I've been travelling a long time, and I'm wanting to go home to my family in the north of the county. Do you think I could stay the night?" And the old man looked up and said, course you must stay the night. Is this not Donegal? Is this not the Blue Hills? Are we not famous for our hospitality? Of course you must stay. But you must ask the Father of the house. Goodness, thought the young man. Oh, I don't believe this. This old man must be over 100 years old. And this boy outside, he doesn't just have a father, he has a grandfather,
and a great-grandfather,
and a great. So he said, well, of course, sir. Where is your father? And he said, well, my father is very old. He always needs to have a little lie down in the afternoon. Then he'll get up to have dinner with us. He's in the bed in the bedroom. Go in and see if he's awake. You can speak to him. And the young man went to the door and he opened the door of the bedroom and he opened it. And there, lying in the bed, was a tiny little man. He was just over 1 meter long, but he had a beard that grew from his chin, from his head that was on the pillow, and it grew right down the length of his body, right down to where his feet were sticking up in the bed. A long, long beard. And just as the young man came into the room, one eye opened. And he looked at the young man and he said, in a little tiny voice, "Who are you?" And the young man, as you know, he's very polite. He said, "I'm a tired and weary traveller, and I've been travelling from the south of the county right to my home in the north of the county. It's very late. I cannot travel any further now. I'm so tired." And before he said any more, the old man said, "Well, you must stay the night." "Of course you must stay the night. Is this not Donegal? Are these not the Blue Hills? Aren't we famous for our hospitality? Of course you should stay the night. But you should ask the father of the house." Goodness, the young man thought. This boy outside doesn't just have a father and a grandfather, he has a great-grandfather and a great-grandfather. And he said, "I'm sorry, sir, I never saw your father. Where is your father?" He said, "He's in the kitchen, didn't you see him?" He said, "When I was in the kitchen, I saw your son in the corner, and I saw your grandson at the table, but I saw no one else." He said, "Didn't you look on the mantelpiece?"
Aha! From last night.
"On the mantelpiece?" "Yes, he's usually there." Well, the young man went back into the kitchen and he looked on the mantelpiece and he saw nothing on the mantelpiece except a clock and 2 old candlesticks with half candles and a matchbox. But out from the matchbox there was a white thread, and it ran, it's a high mantelpiece, it ran from the matchbox along the mantelpiece right to the end of the mantelpiece, and then down from the mantelpiece right until it almost touched the floor. And when he looked in the little box, the matchbox in the mantelpiece, wasn't there just a little man lying in the box? And the little man sat up and said, "Who are you?" in a tiny little voice. If I said it like him, you wouldn't hear me. And the young man said, "I'm tired." Well, you know what he said. And the little man in the matchbox said, "Yes, of course you must stay. Is this not Donegal? Are these not the Blue Hills? Are we not famous? Have you heard this before? And I thank you for being polite, because I'm the father of the house and I'm the person you should ask. So it's very nice of you to ask me. Of course you must stay. And before he had finished speaking, the table marched into the room covered with food on its own legs. And it had food and drink and everything you could imagine for a beautiful dinner. And all of the family, the son, the father, the grandfather, great-grandfather, the great-great-grand, but not the little great-great-great-grandfather, because he stayed in his little matchbox and had just a little thimbleful of porridge. The rest ate the beautiful dinner, and after the dinner, because he was polite, he was allowed to sleep in the great-great-great-great-grandfather's feather bed. And because he was in the matchbox. And there he slept the night. And the next morning they lent him the horse so that he could travel home to Donegal, and he was home to spend the weekend with his family. And so everything was well.